This is the end, beautiful friend.
This is Apocalypse.
This is the end.
A 1979 psychological war film, directed by legendary Godfather director Francis Ford Coppola. And today, I will tell you why I believe this movie to be a masterpiece. Hopefully, I will tell you something new about this film that you haven't heard before, because this wholly is my interpretation of this film. This is not anybody else's. And the scene I just showed you is the beginning of the movie. And what I believe to be the most telling and deeply horrifying and engrossing scenes of the film, after my epiphany, at least rewatching it, I believe it captures everything about the film, everything it was trying to say in that one scene. Today I'll explain to you why. But hi, my name is Tyler, and I love film. And today, I will be talking about Apocalypse Now. But first, what was happening in that scene, in the opening? We fade in from black as we stare at a jungle with the Doors song, This Is the End, playing, which we'll get into the significance of soon. And the bombs are dropped, exploding as we revel in the spectacle and the horror of that spectacle. As we see orange smoke rise up in front of the camera, symbolizing the napalm that will come to play later in the film, that was used throughout the Vietnam War. And then from there, we fade to Martin Sheen's character, Captain Willard. In this fade, we see Martin Sheen's character and his head upside down, with a fan fading into the frame alongside the carnage of the jungle. Now that you know all the elements that made up that scene, I will now explain what I believe to be the significance of each of those elements. First, I will start by explaining the three most important characters in the film, them being Captain Willard, who is sent by boat ride to hunt down Colonel Kurtz, played by Marlon Brando, who is another significant character, and the last being one that Willard meets on his way, Colonel Kilgore, played by Robert Duvall. First, I'll start with Colonel Kilgore. Colonel Kilgore is encountered by Willard during a helicopter ride. After the helicopter ride, Duvall, or Kilgore, delivers his popular line, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." Colonel Kilgore is portrayed as a savage and monster who blasts classical music out of the helicopters to scare the civilians and murders them. Not just the soldiers, but the civilians, because of his power and because he knows how unchecked he will go throughout the war. Even though he's committing war crimes and believes he is much better than the Vietnamese that he fights against, he is worse, or at least on the same level. He represents what Kurtz's character coins at the end of the film with the last lines. He represents the horror of war. Not just the horror that you would assume. It's not just the atrocities he commits. It's the fact that he represents the savagery of men in war and how easy and how close a line society treads with savagery, with evil, with beasts, and shows how close a man can be brought to the brink of insanity when given the power of war. There is another important instance that defines the film, where during the steamboat ride, Willard and his crew encounter fellow soldiers being attacked by Viet Cong at night. Willard asks a soldier, "Who's in charge here?" The soldier says, "Aren't you?" As Willard's face is shrouded in darkness, he just stares coldly, leading to the most important instance where a soldier says something along the lines of Vietnam being the a-hole of the earth and that they're already in hell. This is said as fiery explosions engulf them all around, as the men don't even know where they're shooting. They just shoot to kill. Doesn't matter who's in front of the gun. They can't tell themselves apart anyway. They're all just ultimately a bunch of savage, scared men willing to kill for something they don't even know, for a cause they don't even recognize anymore. Throughout the steamboat ride, Willard reads up on Kurtz's files. He becomes more entangled with Kurtz's writings about the way that Kurtz seemingly fell into insanity, the reasons why he ran away, why he's doing some crazy stuff in the Hallows jungle. And the more Willard reads, the more he silently understands, the more he recognizes what Kurtz is saying, and slowly recognizes the horror. When Willard finally gets to his destination, he is confronted by a bunch of the natives who capture him and put him in a cage where he is spoken to by the only American in the vicinity other than Kurtz, a photographer that's gone slightly insane, who has such an intense fear for Kurtz and understands his ways, but he can't even describe it. That night, Willard is asked for by Kurtz, who wants to see him. An entire conversation happens with Kurtz completely shrouded in darkness, his face in shadow, until he invades the camera, where you can only see his deranged, estranged face in the light. They exchange words. Other events happen until Willard manages to get back to his ship and grabs a weapon. The natives from the jungle who Kurtz claims to have found, who Kurtz refers to as his children, are performing a ceremony where they will soon kill a cow for food, for beef. It cuts in between the ceremony, Kurtz reading a letter, reading his writings to the natives. As Willard makes his way to Kurtz and kills him, intercut between the killing of the cow. Willard walks out. The natives go silent and stare at him. He walks down the steps of the place where Kurtz was living, and they all stare at him. They believe him to be the new Kurtz, whatever he was to them. Willard walks away and will never be the same again. A broken, estranged man who took an insane assignment and now has completely developed a heart of darkness. He killed Kurtz. Kurtz wanted him to. It was his mission to kill Kurtz, and Kurtz welcomed it. He expected him. Kurtz wanted to die, but he couldn't do it himself. He wanted to escape the jungle. He knew he couldn't go back to civilization, and he laid out documents for Willard to take back to Kurtz's son so he could know what he found. At the end of the film, we fade out on the steamboat ride back. As Kurtz says, the horror. The horror. Now Willard has become him. Now Willard knows the secrets. Now Willard has become the horror. He represents the darkness of the war that will kill him, that will silence him, only to achieve victory. The world, like Willard's position in the opening scene, seemed a little more upside down. To tie everything back to the opening scene, I must explain two last things: the fan and the music choice. The fan apparently is turning the wrong way, going with the theme of the world being upside down, exemplified by Willard staring at the fan going the wrong way, upside down, before he embarks his mission, which will turn his world upside down. I just said upside down a lot. Now the music choice. The song is This Is the End by The Doors. The lyrics are as follows. This is the end. Beautiful friend. This is the end. My only friend. The end. Of our elaborate plans. The end. Of everything that stands. The end. No safety or surprise. The end. I'll never look into your eyes again. Can you picture what will be so limitless and free, desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land? This is the end. I'm to dissect what each of those lines of music mean to this film, which blatantly lays out the purpose and meaning of the film. Of our elaborate plans, the end. Of everything that stands, the end. No safety or surprise, the end. That means and refers to what Kurtz has found. How, if found out, everything that is known, everything that stands, of all the elaborate plans of the U.S. will end, because they will know of the true horrors that Kurtz has committed, that Kurtz has seen, and that Kurtz knows will continue to happen. I'll never look into your eyes again refers to the fact that nobody will come back from war the same again. Kurtz was unable to even go back, make an attempt to return to society, and decided to take refuge in the jungle, never able to look into his loved one's eyes again. Can you picture what will be so limitless and free? Refers to what Kurtz has found. He believes that the chaos of the war will free us. Desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land refers to Kurtz. How he wishes to be helped by some stranger. That stranger in the plot is Willard, who frees him from the horrors that he's witnessed, from the inability to look into anyone's eyes, his loved one's eyes, again. In a desperate land references the desperation of Kurtz in the evil land that he is in. Now, this is the end line that's repeated throughout the song, refers to Kurtz and Willard. How what they know means the end of everything that stands, of everything that they once knew and thought of war, of everything that they wished for, of any hopes of ever returning to a state and time where they were normal. The end of their lives as they know it, and the end of the audience's perception of war. The horror.